Get started. So hi everyone, thank you for coming to tonight's meeting. Tonight we'll be talking more about how IABC can help you transitioning into your career and even things right now when you're a student. We have guest speakers that they'll be going over shortly. But first, before we get into any of that, we're going to stop and take a little flick, a little picture. So everyone on Zoom, just turn your cameras, smile, and everyone here.
You guys need to get up.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to change that to gallery view
Oh, sorry.
and put it full screen.
I shall.
You want to take turns taking the picture? Remember, we have it. Andrea does not want to be in the picture, so she will take the picture.
Okay, everybody come up here. Come on.
No rush. Try to probably go under the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I mean, I do have panoramic mode, but still.
I'm a little taller with my heels, so usually I'm much shorter. Don't make me go in the middle. Go in the middle. Go ahead.
We need you to probably, can we do a little bit more scooching in?
Here, is that good?
Y'all friends, y'all showered today, come on. So, cheese. One more time. Awesome, okay.
My hair. And also, if you guys want to take any pictures during the meeting, you can scan this QR code and we'll post it on all of our socials and things like that. So I'm sure that you guys pretty much know what IABC is now, but essentially it's a global network that can help you connect to business communication professionals all over the world. And it can help you when maybe you first got your job, you're not really quite sure how to write a certain thing. You can talk to people on there and they can advise you. Or if you're looking for a network during a job change or anything like that, IABC can help you, even as a student, giving you more resources to help that transition and also help you in whatever you're doing now. I want to do a couple introductions. So we have our faculty advisors. We have Jennifer Maga.
I'll come over to the camera for a second just to say hi. You know, am I up on the screen? Where should I go?
Here, come right here.
Come over here. Come over here. Hi, everybody. Can you see me? I feel like I'm so short. Okay, perfect. I'm Jennifer Magus, assistant professor of practice, teaching for 25 years. I feel like a dinosaur when I say that. And I own my own PR agency. And then,
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Andrea Bowden and I am also a co-advisor. I have to go back to monitoring the chat, but great to see everybody and I hate being on camera.
And then we have Alina, who is not here right now, but she's a great advisor. And then there's us. So I'm the president. My name's Mia Threet. And then we have our VP of Planning and Programming, Malaya Samuel, our VP of Membership, Catherine Ellis, our VP of Branding and Engagement, Hayden, and our secretary, Lauren, and then our treasurer, Giovanni, who's not able to make it because he is a brand new father. So now we're going to get into our guest speakers, and I'll let them take over.
Okay, so tonight we have a topic for y'all that is mainly about career guidance, effective network strategies, professional development, and then also maintaining connections, because it's one thing, you know, to just get the connection, but it's about maintaining these connections over a long period of time. So tonight we have two industry professionals.
move into the microphone.
Go to gallery. I'm in speaker mode now. You can keep talking.
So tonight we have two seasoned industry professionals. Bonnie Carver, and then Matt Tidwell. And then they are just gonna help you and just show you how IABC can assist you in taking those initial steps towards your desired career path.
Okay, so first up, we have Matt Tidwell. So Matt Tidwell, PhD, APR, is the Assistant Dean for Graduate and Professional Studies at the William Allen White School of Journalism and Mass Communications at the University of Kansas. Previously, Matt worked in marketing communications and served in senior communications leadership roles for Fortune 500 companies, including Sanofi Pharmaceuticals and Great Plains Energy. Matt teaches courses in audience analysis and crisis communications. He conducts academic research in corporate behavior and crisis communications, has been a speaker at academic research conferences, and has had his work on crisis and organizational value published.
So Bonnie is the president and founder of Reputation Lighthouse. That's a branding and reputation marketing firm in the United States. They're in Denver and Austin. She is a 20-year communications veteran, and she is also a certified crisis manager. She holds a certification in strategic change management from Northwestern University. She is the immediate past chair of the Global Board of Directors for the International Association of Business Communicators, which is this club if y'all haven't gone there yet. And she also serves on the board of directors in the Global Alliance for PR and Communication Management as representative of IABC. Within IABC, she has served in a variety of roles ranging from IABC Austin chapter president to IABC Southern Region chair to international committees and task forces, including the Finance Committee and Brand Task Force. She is the current chair of the Global Shared Interest Group for Change Management. Tabor enjoys the role of mentor for young professionals and is a frequent speaker on branding, reputation, ethics, change management, and thought leadership topics.
So now we'll just hand it off to the speakers.
Hi, I think Matt and I haven't just flipped the coin to see who goes first.
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Bonnie.
Well, hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. I think Matt and I both were here at the beginning of the semester or the beginning of the year, and it's hard for me to fathom that it's the end of the year already. I bet you guys that have been in it on a daily basis are like, we're ready to be out, right? But we're really excited to be here, and I think we'll talk about a couple of things, but I'd really like to hear your questions because I think that's really where these kinds of sessions become most valuable to you is that Matt and I are able to answer your questions.
Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. It's a great introduction. Also, feel a bit of nostalgia because it was, I guess, when you all were starting the chapter that we were here the first time. I remember Professor Megas was talking about that, and so glad to see that it's not only launched but it's thriving, and that's really terrific. I think that student organizations are so important on so many different levels. They really give you an opportunity to form a network outside of just your classes, which will become even more important when you move out into the profession. And they also, just help you interact more with peers who are interested in the same things. And I think that's incredibly important as well. And I, like Bonnie, I just really want to get to your questions. I would say a couple things though that I know when we first talked about NIA or talked with NIA were important to us. And one was that certainly I work with a lot of young professionals. I not only was a hiring manager when I was in my professional career, as was talked about in the introduction, but also, now as an educator, right? So I teach young professionals. I'm more on the master's degree side, so people that have been out in the business for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And one thing I would say, another benefit of IABC, since that's the topic, is to allow you to, it's one thing when you're in college you've got kind of your network around you, right? You've got your friends, you've got your classmates, you've got your professors. And then what we often see with folks who immediately move out into the workplace post-graduation is that they lose a lot of that, right? You're thrust out into the world, and the people that you've had around you all of a sudden aren't there anymore. And it can frankly be a little bit daunting and even a lonely feeling. And so I know one of the benefits of IABC for young professionals that I've talked to is that they're able to develop a network kind of from scratch, because that's really the place that you're in when you're a new professional. And so to begin to have those IABC roots while you're, pre-graduation, hopefully will help you post-graduation to kind of, again, build that new network that you'll need when you're a working professional. And of course, there's all kinds of other benefits too. And those are trumpeted loudly on the IABC website and by other professional development organizations, things like, keeping your professional development up, keeping your skills where they need to be, that type of thing. But I think that I know certainly when I was a young professional, we didn't have the advantage of a lot of the professional development that comes at you and is available to you on demand, like it is today. And so I'm certainly glad that I joined a professional organization right off the bat as a young professional, because it really did provide me with, an ability to kind of keep my skills sharp, and keep myself developed professionally. So I certainly think it's a great move and highly recommend it, along with all those other things you're told to do, right? Get an internship, and do those kinds of things. I think to begin to build that professional development kind of toolbox for yourself before you get out of college is really, really important. So glad that's our topic tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I started IABC as a student at the University of North Carolina chapter, and then I kind of went away from it because there wasn't a chapter. It's not the same as it is now, where basically if you're a member of IABC, you are a member of IABC. You don't have to be part of a chapter. You can connect to people all around the world. I didn't really have that opportunity, but when I got in a city that had IABC chapter, that was just the first thing that I joined. And to Matt's point about networking, think about it this way. You're in a job, you've been in a job 6 months, a year, you're having a great time, you're liking it, but you're thinking, what's my opportunity for promotion? Where are my gaps? What are the things I need to do to go forward? They might be with that organization. They might not be. You can't talk to the people that you work with about getting a job somewhere else. And that's usually not really comfortable conversation. So, being able to have peers that or even mentors that you can call up and say, what I really love about my job is content creation. But I'm looking at how I move to that next step, that next level. And just being able to have people that you can talk to that aren't going to go back to your boss and say, Bonnie's leaving, you need to be, try to keep her, or, she's interviewing for jobs. I mean, it just gives you a different kind of conversation. And we have those, I'm sure Matt has them, I have them, where people in my network will say, I've been here 5 years and it's time for me to move on. I'm looking at what those next opportunities might be, but I'd really like to have a peer conversation with you so that we can talk about where I might go or what that might be like. And IABC gives you that, and it doesn't just give it to you, in a market saying, I talk to people who say, I want to work in London. I'm in Texas, but I want to work in London. What do I, need to do to have the opportunity to work internationally? And there are people in IABC that you can connect with that can help you with that. that can say, well, here are the challenges, here are the things you'll have to do, here's how hard it is to get a job if you're not here, those kinds of things. So the global perspective is one of the things that I think's very helpful, because you're not just networking locally. You can network with people all around the world.
Yeah, for sure. Just one other maybe other thought I'll share. I was interested as you were showing the various officers there in the chapter. One of the other things I see from some of the really young professionals I work with who they may only be a year or two away from graduation is that, they will often say, well, gee, I want to get promoted, but or I want to go to another job, but everything says that I need to have leadership or management experience, but how can I get that when I'm brand new and out of school, right? That's the constant conundrum where, you need management experience. How are you going to get management experience? But I was reminded, I host a podcast with a friend of mine, and we were talking with a lady who manages, over time, has managed several hundred young professionals at a large agency in my community. And she said, what I really advise folks to do at that very young age, post-graduation, and even pre-graduation, as in your case, is to volunteer at a leadership level, not just volunteer, but volunteer at a leadership level in an organization. Could be any organization, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a communications organization, because she said what you will get there is a safe space to kind of learn how to lead and manage. So that if you're the vice president of fundraising, you've been able to do that for an actual organization. So in that sense, you really kind of do have management experience. You're not starting from scratch. You've worked to help mobilize and lead a team and get people engaged around a subject or a topic. And then, of course, when you get out after graduation, there's, of course, all kinds of different ways and organizations that you can volunteer at a leadership level as well. My local IABC chapter, I think 2 of our officers are very young professionals. Our treasurer has maybe 1 to 2 years of experience right out of college. But what a great, opportunity she's getting to manage and lead, a fairly large metropolitan chapter of a large organization. So think about those opportunities as well, which obviously IABC can provide you, really any organization can provide you, but as a way to kind of get some of that quote management experience that you may think you're perhaps a little bit young to get, in your own job or in your own workplace. So I was glad to see so many folks there signed up to take leadership roles in your student chapter. That's great.
Yeah, it's being engaged to that point, Matt. This is a lot of people are renewing this month of IABC. March has traditionally been a big membership month, and I saw one of my friends was being promoted as being a long-term member and saying all the value of membership to him and his career and all of that stuff. And I haven't had time to do it, but I want to come in and say, his name's Michael Nord, and he's out of the Netherlands. And what I wanted to say to Michael is, IABC has been beneficial to you because you've gotten engaged. You've volunteered at every level. And he's been on the board of IABC. And when he rolled off the board, he just went back to volunteering. The engagement that you have in an organization, just being a member, I say when you're a member, when you're just a member, and there's nothing wrong with just being a member, because in different times in your life, that'll be all you can do, right? But you get the check boxes, right? But when you are a young professional and you have the time, being able to volunteer automatically puts you with senior leaders who are running that chapter, automatically puts you in front of people who are going to be hiring you, who are going to be mentoring you, and they're able to see the way you work. They're able to guide you and give you experience. The other thing I think IABC does is it gives you experience in things you might not get the opportunity to do otherwise. So your first job out of college might be social media manager or whatever, but you want to do events. IABC has events team, an events coordinator. So you have that opportunity. To get into any leadership role, you have to understand finances. In any, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in PR, whether you're in corporate comms, if you don't understand the business side of things, you don't get those jobs. So there's always a need for finance at the chapter level. So there's lots of opportunities to get out of your comfort zone, to do things that you don't do in your day job. In that safe space, as Matt said. I love that, Matt, because there are people who are going to kind of take care of you if you show up and make sure, kind of bring you along. That's one of what I think is IABC's secret sauce. Unlike many other organizations, I just find it to be very different in IABC. We're comms nerds. We really, really believe in exceptional communications, which means we believe in bringing people along and making sure that they have the foundation and the volunteerism, and we're not about just throwing people out and just saying go do it. We're really about making everybody better. And so no matter where you are in the world, there's this kindred spirit if you're a member of IABC, and people will share things with you. They'll share intellectual property, they'll share knowledge, and they'll also want to learn from you, because we understand that we've been in the business a while, and you're learning new things and you're thinking differently, and so this mentorship goes both ways as well. So we love having the youth on our boards and being able to work with you, because we learn from you as well. It's a learning experience for all of us, and IABC gives us that. I talk about IABC as being a platform. It's a platform to grow your professional career. It's a platform to network, but it's just like any software or anything else. If you don't turn it on, and if you don't go test it out, and if you don't get to know all of the benefits and all the feature sets and all of that, then it's, it's just something that's sitting on your computer. I mean, how many apps do you have that you downloaded because somebody said download them, but you've never played with them? You probably could just delete them. Well, that's the same as any organization. If you let it be this app that just on your phone, and don't get involved with it, then you don't get the benefit.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a student of mine. You were talking about just how marketing has changed, and he was from when I first started teaching, so like 9 years ago. And he was talking to me about, boy, gosh, he said things have really changed in 9 years. All the new platforms and all the, and I think that's an important piece as well. I still consider him a young professional, but just the amount of change that he has seen over the past 9 years, let alone the past maybe 20 years. And so, you may be thinking, graduating at 22 years old, I've got everything I need. I know all the latest tools, the latest techniques. Why should I invest in professional development? I'm probably good for the next several years. I guess my caution would be, look out, because this industry, this business changes at a lightning speed. And you really need to be availing yourself of professional development upon graduation, and run, don't walk. To join an organization, to subscribe to the many different terrific websites and just information sources that are out there, Reagan and others that talk about what's happening in our business, because you'll be surprised in a very short amount of time how much it's changed. And frankly, that's why, again, it's another good reason to invest in yourself by joining an organization like IABC or one of the other good ones out there.
Matt, that brings up a really good point. I think our profession is almost in whiplash mode. We're changing so fast. And unlike a few years ago, communications professionals are really being asked to lead. And because there is so much change going on, that the communications and bringing along your stakeholders and your audiences is so important. And I've been lucky to work on this shared interest group with about change management. But one of the things that so when I was the chair of IABC, which has been 2 years now, we were working on the strategic plan. And I felt like for a year I was being a futurist. I was looking at the future of our profession. And in order to look at the future of our profession, I was looking at the future of business, because our profession, has to move business forward. And so I was spending a lot of time on that. And the hot things, everything was digital transformation, AI is coming, and that's here, right? The things that have come on in my email the last week about, AI and Chat GPT and all of that. However, last year we were all about DE&I initiatives. We were all about ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance issues. And we were all about having our leaders be spokespersons for change, and really stepping out in political environments. And then we had inflation. And then we had layoffs. And so guess what? D&I is not as important to corporations anymore. It'll come back, but it's not. ESG, not as important. Most people say ESG is kind of peaked, that it's not going to be a conversation piece. I think all of those are here to stay, and they're going to be things that we as communication professionals have to lead our organizations to still pay attention to. But there's a new shiny thing, or there's a new environment that we have to deal with. And the new environment is digital transformation is getting here faster than we thought it would. We are, laying off employees and large, major, what they call loud layoffs, large corporations. And then we're, we've got this inflation thing that we've got to get our handle on. So as communication professionals, we're sitting here in organizations and we're going, woo, 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 because the business environment is changing. The environment is changing. And as communication professionals, we have to lead through that, and we have to be ahead of that. So last year we were all about DE&I, learning DE&I, and every session was about DE&I and ESG and sustainability and all of those things. And now everything's about Chat GPT. So, but we have to be ahead of it. I find that this global network probably helps me more than anything. Yes, we have great sessions and things like that, but I learned, so you may not know this, South Africa is where a lot of technology is tested. So they will test technology early. So the latest cell phone goes to South Africa first. They will test things there. And so I was in South Africa in 2019, in November 2019, and this was before COVID. And the whole conversations with communication professionals was around AI and digital transformation and the ethics of what was coming there. we're now in 2023. They were 4 years ahead of us in the conversations that we're just having today. So being able to talk to people around the world that are facing things before you are puts you ahead of the conversation. They're learning early. You can kind of learn from their mistakes and then pass it back over and they learn from you. So that's just as we're in this ever-changing world, you need all the help in your toolkit to help you be the leader that people like Matt and I have worked, and your professors have worked very hard to put communication at that level. And I think we're there where organizations believe they need us to lead. But we've got to step up to the plate and be ready.
Well said. Well said. Nia, any questions from students or faculty?
Okay, so I had a question. What was y'all's biggest struggle or difficulty transitioning from college to the business professional world?
Yeah, I'll be glad to take that one first. And because it's likely different with everybody. I would say I did pretty well early on, and was on the kind of trajectory that I definitely wanted to be on over the first 3 to 4 years of my career. And then what happened was I got promoted and somebody said, okay, now you're managing 6 people. And I kind of went, excuse me, I can barely manage my dog at home. Now I'm managing 6 people. And so I was a bit unprepared for the aspect of just, kind of really the things that you have to do as a good leader and a manager, right? Being, humble and empathetic and the things that are important when you lead people. And what struck me was I really didn't get any training in that in my undergraduate days, because while we're really good at journalism schools, mine included, don't want to speak for yours, but certainly mine, at teaching, strategy and tactics and things like that, and the latest and greatest, so to speak. We don't do necessarily a really good job, giving people even very rudimentary training around what we would think of. Sometimes you'll hear them called soft skills. I don't like that. I like the term kind of professional skills better. And so that I would say was a big struggle of mine, was learning how to, just kind of rally a team. I talked about that earlier. Display quality leadership skills, getting people, behind me, recognizing them appropriately. I can remember when I first got this is about 2 or 3 years later, I got an administrator. I went to work for a really big company, a global pharmaceutical company. And so I got an administrative assistant to help me. But I didn't manage that very well because I like to try to do everything myself. And so I was very, there were things that were in her job description that she should have been doing to help our team. And I would end up doing them on my own, to the point where my boss finally had to take me aside and said, she's been here 25 years and is pretty good at her job. So those kinds of things, learning how to be a good leader, a good manager, learning some humility, learning some of the soft skills that we hear talked about all the time. That was a struggle of mine. I think I'm better now. I hope I'm better now. But that was definitely an issue, say my definitely first 10 years, but really more in the first 5 years, I would say.
I love the humility, because the first thing I was going to say is I was extremely cocky. I walked out, thinking I know what I'm doing, and self-assured and everything. Now, my world was a little different. I didn't go the corporate route. I went into college athletics. So I went from being a student who had worked in media relations at the university that I was in, to being 1 year older than the athletes that I worked with. And, now I'm dealing with coaches and administrators and university presidents and a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of politics and fans and all of those things. You know, the audiences were unbelievable, and everybody had a different agenda, and I wasn't really into the politics of it, right? I was what you see is what you get kind of person. I'm going to tell you what I think. If you don't like it, I don't really care. I have some scars to prove it, but also, like Matt, I was promoted immediately. I came into a job, and the person who was kind of at that next level job left within 3 months, and they asked me, did I want the job? And so I went from being brand new in the profession to being the number one contact for a football team in the Southeastern Conference. And not only that, I was the first woman to ever do it, and I'm 23, 24 years old, and just didn't have any sense to know what an awesome, amazing undertaking I had. And I had incredible mentors and incredible people to guide me, but I also was supervising people and having this incredible job was enough as it was, but also to be supervising people and to be, I was anything but a good mentor to them. I was anything but a good leader. That the poor people, I mean, they still talk to me. They're still my friends, but I'm quite amazed by that sometimes because I really wasn't a good leader. And I've learned that, and kind of the hard way. Sometimes people had to tell me I wasn't being a good leader, but I now really recognize good leadership. And maybe I had to learn the hard way. You guys will be amazed what the opportunities that you're given, and you'll come out and your eyes will be wide open, and you'll have all of this knowledge, and you'll be enthusiastic, and you'll get promoted. And the next thing you know, you'll have the same issues the same opportunities that Matt and I had to lead people. That's a hard thing to do when you're also trying to do your job and do it well and get promoted yourself. But don't forget that, and sometimes those people are, like Matt said, they've been around for a while, and here you're the brand new person, but you're working with people who have 10 years experience, 15 years experience. And so you can't just be friends, right? You have to build that relationship and collaborate and work together and build a partnership. And that's kind of hard when you're young and just trying to focus on yourself, to be honest.
Very well spoken. Do you have any other questions? Go ahead. Not a question.
All right, so my main question is so with the new age, I would call it like new age jobs and whatnot. I know that a lot of people aren't staying at jobs for like 5-10 years. However, I wanted to know when you would judge to yourself when you've either outgrown your position, or to know when it's applicable for you to kind of move to the next step, when you should give yourself credence to understand like, oh, I've been working at this stuff for 5 years or X amount of years. I should be looking to go into more leadership, because sometimes, I mean, you were just talking about it. Sometimes you're like thrust into very high level situations and you may or may not believe that you're ready for it, et cetera, that sort of thing. Like how are you to distill it to a small question? How do you know when you're ready to take the next big step in your career or whatever thing you're doing?
Matt, I'll start with that. So one, I think if you're not growing, and you're not learning something new, it's time to move. Now, I'm going to say that very generally, because if you are just married and you have a baby on the way and other life things, you might choose to make some choices. But I've always thought that if I come to the office and I don't feel like I'm contributing and I don't feel like I'm learning, then it's probably time for me to move on. The biggest challenge, and I hate to say this, is sometimes you can be over loyal, and you stay too long. And loyalty is a wonderful thing, and I'm all for loyalty, but not at the expense of your professional growth or that you're contributing to an organization. The other thing is IABC has an incredible tool called the career assessment. And it allows you to look at what the phases of a career are. And so there's the foundational, which is where you guys will be. There's the generalist, there's the strategist, and then there's the business advisor. So you should be looking to move in that direction throughout your career. And there is an assessment online at IABC that you can take, and it'll tell you where your skill sets are and where your gaps are to move to that next level. And so as you are growing professionally, and you can say, well, I'm not really sure if I'm quite right at this next level. I want to go do this job or whatever. That will be a guide for you as well, that will help you make some of those determinations that maybe the job you're in does give you learning opportunities. You just weren't looking at it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's such great advice, Bonnie. And I was on the IBC website today, and I'll tell you, it's right at the top. It says, take the career assessment. You just click on it and go. So, and in fact, I made a mental note. I'm going to be teaching a leadership class in my master's degree program this summer. And as a class activity, we're all just going to take the career assessment, which you could do in your chapter meetings as well, by the way. Just gave you an activity and compare notes. And what did it confirm what you thought? Did it not? What were your questions? Things like that. The group that I'll be working with is a little bit older. They probably, a lot of them in that generalist category, but still it'll be an effective tool for them to sort of see the gaps and that type of thing. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, Bonnie, because I do think, to answer your question, I do think it's important to have a plan. But as what often happens is, as there's this thing called we grow, right? We grow, we observe, we learn, we're exposed to new stimuli, we're exposed to new opportunities, and we think, maybe that would be interesting. One of the reasons that a lot of people know that I had a long corporate career. I worked about 2/3 of my career for an organization like a company, and about 1/3 of my career, so a number of years, about 10 years, for an agency, right? So like a PR firm or an advertising agency. And what helped me was, one of those first jobs I had was at an agency. And the reason I think that helped me was that when you're working in an agency, unlike a single organization, you're exposed to different kinds of clients in most cases. Certainly if it's not, unless you're just with like a really huge agency where maybe they have you shoehorned into one client. Most of the agencies in the Midwest now are smaller. In fact, they're the predominant number now are smaller. So they're going to have multiple clients. So you may be working for a consumer product good, foods or drinks or something like that, for part of your week. And then the next week you're working for a hospital system, and the next week you're working for a pro sports team. Because and so I think that variety, particularly when you're young, to help answer your question, is important. And so I often advocate for young people who say, well, gee, I'm not really sure where I want to work, for actually to go more toward an agency existence. Now, agencies can be, not everything is wine and roses, right? I mean, agencies can be tough. You have to do your homework. There are still a few out there that are kind of just hamster wheel mills that just really work you to death. But there are also some very good ones, and so you want to figure out about culture. You want to do your research on culture and talk to people who work there and things like that. But if you find yourself questioning, particularly kind of segment maybe that you might want to work in, or industry, that kind of thing, the agency, to give you kind of a very tactical piece of advice, the agency route can be a good one.
Well, thank you guys. I wish that we could talk more, but we have some of these to address. So just real quick, let's give a round of applause to our speaker.